sharing a very interesting topic about understanding VLOOKUP function in Excel. Okay, so I pass this floor to Mr. Rizwan.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Rizwan from Excel Academy. So today we are going to have a short session on a specific topic, which is about VLOOKUP. Yeah. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. Hang on a moment. Let me just start to share the screen. All right. So in Excel, we do have a few functions that you can use to find matches in your database. So one of the function that we're going to talk about is VLOOKUP. Yeah. So VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup, and there is the sibling for it called HLOOKUP. Okay, that is meant for searching in horizontal orientation. Yeah. But for today, we are going to concentrate on the vertical orientation. All right. So we have here an example where we are going to look for the total sale for Roger, for instance, right? And we're going to display the data on cell E1. So in order for you to use VLOOKUP, there are actually two ways of using it. One is to find exact match, and the other is to find closest match. All right, so for the first example that I'm going to show you here is on the use of finding exact match. Right, in order for you to find exact match, you must make sure that the item or the thing that you want to look for is existing exactly in the area that you are going to use for search. Okay, like for instance, we are going to look for Roger. Yeah. So in this part, Roger, which is currently stated in cell C1, is also available in the column B. Yeah, you can see it's available. There's Roger in column B, right? Okay, so the very important thing to find match, yeah, is to make sure that the spelling is exactly the same. You can have it in capital or small letter, all right, but as long as the spelling is the same, it should be able to find the match. If you have, like, for instance, you're looking for Roger, Roger, and then in your data that you are looking for is containing Roger, but maybe with a little bit of extra space, or maybe with a full stop in the end. Okay, so that will become totally different data. It won't match. Yeah, so the spelling must be 100% the same. Yeah, must be identical. Okay, in terms of having capital letter or small letter, there is no issue. Right.
Rizwan, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you check your mic? I think the sound like duplicate.
There is no duplicate sound here. Maybe somebody is turning on the the speaker on the other side or on your side.
Okay, I'll check. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, and now I'm hearing more mics here. Sorry for the interference. Okay, so back into this topic. So when you want to look for lookup, as for this case VLOOKUP, yeah, the characteristic of using VLOOKUP, it will look for the identical match. That's one thing. And for VLOOKUP, your VLOOKUP will be looking for the match in the first column of the selection. So if you look into this data, you can see that currently we have the agent column, which is not the first column, right? We have the first column which is showing numbers on column A. Yeah? So later in the process of creating this formula, you will have to make sure that the agent column will be your first column of your selection. All right. Now we're going to put in the data on cell E1, for instance, yeah, which will look for the total sale for Roger. Okay, you can find the formula either by going into the formulas tab, and there's lookup and reference. So you can find VLOOKUP, yeah, there's VLOOKUP in there. Or if you're not familiar with the categories, you can find it much easier by using the insert function, right? So insert function you can find either from to the left of your formula bar, or if you're currently in the formulas tab, you can also find insert function on the leftmost part of the ribbon, yeah? So you can click either one of it. These both will give you the same insert function dialog box, right? So now I have selected cell E1, and now we are going to click on insert function. All right. So if you're not so sure which category that you are currently looking into, you have to look into, right? First, you can see that if you have already recently used the formula function, it should be able to show under the recently used category, yeah? Okay, by default, when you open this insert function dialog box, you will always get this most recently used category, unless if before you open up this insert function, you may have already have wandered in the categories from the formula step, yeah, like what I did just now, right? So by default, it should be showing most recently used, and then if you have recently used the formula function, it should be able to display on the list below, and you can see VLOOKUP is available, meaning that I have used this formula function in the previous day, maybe yesterday, or recently. Right. Okay, another method of calling up the formula function is by typing in the formula. Right. So like for instance, if you go to cell E1, you can type in equal. Then the moment you type in the first alphabet to call up the formula function, Excel will be listing down all the formulas that begins with the same alphabet. All right, so you may have already know about this function. It's called formula autocomplete function that has been available since version 2007. So this is very good for those who really prefers to type formulas rather than trying to find from the formulas tab or from the insert function, yeah. Okay, so if you're using this method, you can either double click directly on the list if you already found it, or if you prefer to use keyboard, you can move the arrow key down to select or highlight the item, and then you can press tab to choose the formula. So this is example if you're using the typing method. All right, so if you're using the typing method, you can see that there will be a screen tip below it, yeah, giving you some kind of instruction or guide on what are the items that are required to complete the formula, yeah. Okay, by the way, I'm going to use the insert function so that it will be easier for you to see what are the fields that is required, yeah. So I'm just going to press escape. Okay, so same on the cell E1, I'm going to select insert function, and say if it's not available from the recently used list, yeah, what you can do is you can type in on the search area above. All right, the search area above, you can just type in, you can look for just lookup, or if you prefer to type it exactly VLOOKUP, same thing, yeah. So after you type in the keyword, you can click the go button or press enter. Then you can see the category now changes to recommended, right? So when you if you type in the word lookup, you can see there are some other lookup related formula functions that you can use. All right. So for this topic today, we're going to go specifically for VLOOKUP. So from this insert function, you can actually get more information. This is especially for those who are new in this formula and would like to try the formula for the first time. You can see below there is the some basic information, okay, telling you the how the formula is arranged. You can see this similar to the typing method just now, where you can see the screen tip below, yeah. And then below this syntax example, you can see a brief information on what is the function of the formula. Okay, in case you would like to learn deeper on your own, you can always click on the help on this function. So this will bring you to the website where Microsoft Online will bring you directly to the specific topic of the formula that you have chosen. Okay, and in there you might be seeing some demo video, or maybe there are some illustration, and then together with that, if you scroll down further, there will be more details showing you the tips and tricks, the do's and don'ts, and some examples. Some of the examples you are able to copy down onto a spreadsheet. Yeah. Okay, so now back onto this VLOOKUP, I have selected the formula from the list. Yeah. Click OK. Now we have this function argument specifically for VLOOKUP. Okay, so in this VLOOKUP, we have 4 fields. Yeah. Okay, a bit of tips for those who are new in using this insert function argument dialog box. For whatever formula that you are selecting, you may see more or less fields that is required to complete the formula. Okay, like for instance, we have here for VLOOKUP, we have 4 fields. But from this 4 fields, we can see that the first 3 fields, the text are in bold. Yeah. So whenever you see any formula with fields that is in bold text, this means that it is compulsory for you to provide the information. Okay, without the information, the formula will not work properly, or it won't even work, or sometimes it will show you an error message. Yeah, so you must make sure to provide the information correctly for the required fields, which is currently marked as bold text. So as for the 4th field, you can see here it shows as a regular text format. So whenever you see a formula with a regular text format, it means that it is an option. Okay, the option could vary. Depends on the formula type that you are using. Some will allow you to leave blank. Some will ask you to add some number options. There could be 1, 2, 3, or even 4 or 5, or sometimes negative value. It depends on the requirement of the formula. All right. So you will have you can see the requirements by going onto the help area. Yeah. So it will provide you this information. Okay. By the way, now on the VLOOKUP. So for this case, now we are going to look for the exact match. Yeah. For Roger. Yeah. So what we want to look for now is lookup value is Roger. So we can just pick up from cell C1. Yeah. And since we're not going to copy the formula anywhere else, we're just going to put only one result on cell E1, not going to copy down to E2, then you don't really have to change the cell address to some other addressing style like the absolute style or the fixed row method, so that it will lock the position of the data source. So, all right, so for this case, I will just leave it as relative address. Then on the table array, so as for the table array, okay, this is the data source that you're going to use as part of the VLOOKUP, so that Excel will try to find the match, that is same as what you already have in your current cell C1 here, right? And I did mention just now, for VLOOKUP, it will use the first column of the range or the table array that you're going to use, right? So if you look into this data that we have here, our agent column is not the first column, that we're going to use to find the VLOOKUP. All right, so if this is the case, we are going to highlight starting from column B, not from column A. We must make sure that the matching column is the first column for the table array. So now I'm going to select from B4 until G9. Okay, so now we have, this is the table array range, and you can double check by looking into the fields area, and that's the agent column, which is part of the selection. So the first column will be used for finding match to the data that is currently inside cell C1. Yeah. Okay, then again, if you are going to copy the formula down, then you may want to consider to lock the table array also, yeah, so that later when you copy the formula down, your table array will not change the data source, yeah. So this is very important. Okay, but now we're not going to copy down, so I just leave it as relative. So on the column index number, okay, column index number is for your Excel to ask you, is asking you where is the answer coming from, yeah, from the selected table array, which column number is giving you the answer. So for this case, we are looking for the total sale, yeah, and total sale is currently is the last column. So you need to count how many columns that you already have selected from column B to column G. So we are not going to mention by the actual address of the column like B, C, D, and so on. You need to know how many columns you already have selected for your table array. Yeah, so below I added this column index number just as guide, okay, to tell you the column number starting from agent 1. So the total is coming from column number 6. Yeah, right. So now we can select number 6. Just type in number 6 in there. We are telling Excel that, okay, the answer that I wanted comes from the 6th column of the table array selection range. Yeah. Okay, and on the last field, which is the range lookup. Okay, if you click onto the field, you will see information over there. Okay, this is where you can choose to either use the function to get exact match or closest match. Okay, since now we are going to use for exact match, yeah. Right, so you will have to type in the word false, or you can also use number 0. Right, so when you use number 0, this is actually using kind of like machine language. Okay, because in this range lookup, this is more like a switch button, yeah, whether you want to turn on the range lookup or you want to turn off, yeah. So by pressing or by typing 0, meaning you are turning off the range lookup, which will not look for closest match. Instead, it will be looking for the exact match, yeah. So in this range lookup, you can choose to either type in the word false. You can type in small or capital letter, no issue, no problem, as long as you have the spelling correct, yeah. Or you can use 0, yeah. So it will automatically choose as false. Right, so since we have the word Roger in the list, yeah, in the agent, you can immediately see the end result. Currently is 15357 even before you click the OK button, yeah. Right, now let's click OK. Now we have 15357. So what really happened here? So when you select the formula to choose, yeah, the data from your column C in your cell C1, yeah. Okay, so we're looking for C1, yeah, and the data that we're looking for comes from cell range B4 to G9. Okay, so we told the Excel to look for this range, right? Okay, and then we also tell Excel to look for the total or the answer coming from the 6th column, yeah, the 6th column. So this is the 6th column, right? Okay, so Excel will be looking in for Roger. Okay, it looks for Roger in this first column. Yeah, this is the first column. Then we already told Excel to look for the answer from your total column, which is the 6th column. So now Excel tries to find Roger, and when it found Roger, yeah, it will look across, yeah, across and it finds the intersection between the first column and the column number that we mentioned. So we get this 15,357. All right, so that's how the answer is written back to your formula area. All right. Okay, let's see if we purposely type in wrong name. What really happened here? Okay, so if maybe I type in Roger, but my spelling mistake, instead of Roger, I will be typing Rojer. Yeah, and when I press enter, we get an A. Okay, this is because it is not available from this list. Yeah, unless if under the agent column is also Roger, then you will be able to find it. Yeah, so I just undo this. Okay, so by using this absolute VLOOKUP, okay, we don't really have issue of finding the data if you have the spelling correct. Yeah, so like for instance, maybe I look for Jenny, but instead of Jenny, I type Jennie. Okay, maybe because I received wrong information through telephone calls. Yeah, because we could not really imagine what is the spelling unless it is spelled out to us. Yeah, then we get NA. Yeah, so if we type in correctly, then we get the right answer. All right. Okay. So that's the important thing. Make sure in the formula, the data that you want to use, yeah, and to find match must be the matching column must be on the first column of your selection. If you have some other things before that, in the process of highlighting the range, you must start only from the column that you want to use to find match. Yeah. Right. So for this absolute or the exact match lookup function, you don't really have to do sorting. Yeah, you can just leave the order as it is. You can see the names, they are not well sorted, J, R, D, and then S. Yeah, no issue with it. Yeah, because it's going to find exactly as per the spelling. Okay, so we have another situation, right, where we have VLOOKUP. Okay, VLOOKUP. But this time around, we are looking for a closest match. Yeah, closest match. So you can see here, for instance, we are trying to get the EPF contribution from the table on the right side. Okay, to see what is the EPF contribution for Roger's gross salary on cell B2. Okay, so we can see here from the cell B2, the value is 4,500. Yeah, and then if you look into the EPF contribution table on the column E to G, we do not have 4,500 in the list. All right, so if we have this kind of situation, we cannot use the exact match because we cannot find exactly 4,500 from the list. Instead, we are going to use range lookup or closest match. All right. But in order for you to find closest match, there's an additional requirement before you use the formula function. Okay, on the table array that you like to use to find match. Okay, number one, you must make sure that the matching column will be the first column from your table array, similar to what we had for our exact match just now. But additional, for the matching column, you must make sure the data are sorted in ascending order. So if it is a number, it has to be sorted from the smallest value to the highest value, like what you can see right now. If it's in a date or time format, you must sort it from the oldest date or time to the latest date or time, yeah, from yesterday to today, for instance. All right, if you're sorting based on the data, if based on text, then you have to sort in A to Z in ascending order from A to Z. Yeah. Okay, so there is a requirement. So now we're going to add in the answer on cell B5 to get the employer's contribution. Okay, we're going to again call the VLOOKUP from insert function, right? Then since this is the most recent formula that I just used today, it will become the first from the recently used items. It makes easier for you to reuse the formula again. Yeah, just select from the list, click OK. Right, so for this time around, the lookup value will be cell B2. All right, okay, which is currently containing value of 4,500. Okay, as for the table array, okay, so the way of selecting your table array, especially when you're looking for the closest match, you will have to be extra careful, especially if your first column is using data that is text data type. Yeah, if this first column is text data type. Okay, for this case, we are using number data type, so not really an issue. Okay, but just to make you be aware, for the range lookup, especially when you have text related data, right, try to select your table array excluding the header. Yeah, you exclude the header. Okay, the reason is because when you're using the range lookup, Excel will start to look in ascending order. So if the title or the header of your first column, the alphabet is much later than the first record from the list, you will have issue of finding the data later. All right, so after this, I will be creating an example where it's related to text. Okay, but for this number issue, for this case, you can either select starting from the header or starting from the first record of your data. Okay, so for me, I personally will always start from the first record. I will just exclude the header. Yeah, right. So on the table array, I will start to select from E3 down to G13. All right. And again, because we're not going to copy the formula down, so I don't really have to lock the table array to different addressing styles. Yeah. Okay, then on the column index number, so here in this table array, we only have 3 columns. The first column is used to find match. Then the answer would come either from the second or the third column. Okay, so we're looking for the employer, right? So employer is on the second column, right? So we just put in number 2 there, and then we can find range lookup. For this time around, because we want to look for closest match, right? To find closest match, you can either to find closest match, yeah, you can either type in the word true, or you can leave it blank. Yeah, you can leave it omitted, or you can also type in number 1. Yeah, actually it's not necessarily number 1. As long as the number is not 0, you can put in 2, 3, 10, or even 100, no problem. As long as it's not 0, the range lookup will becomes true. Yeah, so like for instance, on this range lookup, you can type in the word true, or you can type in 1, or even 10. Yeah, no problem. Or even 2, or even 100. Yeah, as long as it's not 0, no problem. But normally we'll stick with 1 and 0 to mimic the on and off switch action for the machinery language. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to put in 1 for this case, and you can see the answer currently is 600. Click OK. Now you get 600. Okay, so similar to what happened just now. Okay, based on this formula. Okay, you can see that we are looking for the value of 4,500, which is coming from cell B2. Yeah, and then the data that we are looking for, the table array is from E3 to G13. Okay. Okay, and then we are looking the answer coming from the second column, column number 2. All right, and because we are using option number 1, so we don't really have issue for this to find the match. Yeah, because it's looking into range in between. So what really happened here, it will look into the closest match. If the matching is exact, then it will select the exact item. If it's not matching, so it will look for any value which is lower than the value that you're looking for. So like for instance, now we have 4,500, all right? And we do not have 4,500 from the list, so it will look for a value which is lower than 4,500. So you can see we have 4,000 and 5,000 is higher than 4,500, so it will look for the value of 4,000. Yeah. Then because we ask the answer to get from the second column, yeah, so the intersection, it selects 600. So that's how we get the answer of 600. All right. Now let's do on the employee part. All right, so I'm going to insert function again. VLOOKUP. Lookup value is still based on 4,500, which is cell B2. Table array, still the same range. I select from E3 to G13. Yeah. Then on column index number, okay, because I would like to look for the employee, so the answer comes from the third column. The column index number is number 3. Then range lookup is number 1. Yeah, because we want to look for the closest match. Click OK. Now we get 4,000. All right, so similar to what we had just now. Okay, we look for 4,500 from the same range. Yeah, so Excel will look for the match based on the first column. Okay, and then couldn't find 4,500, it looks for closest match, which is smaller than 4,500. So you get this data. And then because we choose the answer to come from the third column, so Excel will pick up the intersection of the third column. So that's how you get the answer is 400. All right. Okay, so now say if I change the value, maybe this person, Roger, bought over the company and becomes a director, and then he declares himself as the director and also declares his salary, say, is 15,000, for instance. All right. So, but what happened if we change the gross salary to 15,000? We have here in our table, maximum value is 10,000. All right. So if we change to 15,000, what really will happen? Excel will use whichever highest value available because it couldn't find the exact match. Yeah. So the closest match available is 10,000. So that's how you get the answer for the employee is 1,500 and for the employee is 1,000. Yeah. Okay, but what if yours the figure is lower than the lowest limit we have in this contribution table? So currently we have our lowest limit is 0. Yeah, so anything lower will be negative. Like for instance, let's imagine maybe this person is a big spender, right? Been spending a lot and has been taking a lot of advances from the company, and in the end, he owed some money to pay back. Yeah, so end up his salary becomes negative. So maybe like we have negative 100. Yeah, so hopefully it won't happen to us. Yeah, okay. So when you have a value that is lower than the lowest limit in your table array, you can see that it will show as NA. It's not available because it's already out of the range, out of the lowest range in the table. All right. Okay, so if really happens, if this really happens, and when you like to publish the report, it's not really good for you to show the NA in your report. Yeah, normally by the end of the day, your immediate superior will be asking you why NA. Then you will end up spending your time explaining what happened. Yeah, so instead of showing NA, we can actually replace the message by adding a little bit of extra formula. Yeah, so I'm going to add in the formula if error, yeah, to overcome this issue. So just select the cell that contains the formula, then I will just edit and slot in if error before the VLOOKUP. Okay, and then after the original formula, I will put in a comma so that I can put in the value if error happens. Yeah, so I just put here as maybe instead of NA, so I would like to put in maybe a value of 0, yeah, so that no deduction is made. Yeah, or maybe you can put some text. If you like to put some text, you have to put in double quotation marks, something like this. No deduction, something like that, yeah. End quote. Okay, you can do like this, yeah. But for this case, I would like to stick with only values. So I just put in 0 and close bracket. So if error happens, it will show as 0 value. All right. So same thing for the second column. Yeah. For the employee, I will add in the formula, the if error formula. Right. Then I add in comma at the end and then 0 close bracket. So if the value is lower than the lowest value from the range, then I will just replace with 0. Yeah. Okay, by the way, this is using the accounting format. You see dashes because it's using accounting format. So if I change to general, then you see this value. Yeah. Okay, so this is example of closest match. Okay, and the data is based on number. Okay, say now I would like to create another VLOOKUP using closest match. Yeah. Okay, I just put it as range number 2. All right, so maybe I have here list of states. Yeah. And I'm going to list down the name of our states in Malaysia. Starting from the north, we have Perlis, then we have Kedah, we have Penang, then we have Perak, Selangor, Kuala Lumpur. Okay, then maybe I just put here as Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur so that later I'm going to do a little bit of sorting, yeah. Then we have Wilayah Persekutuan Putrajaya. Then we go down to the south, we have Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, Johor. Okay, now up to the east, we have Pahang, Terengganu, Kelantan. Then I go on to Wilayah Persekutuan Labuan. Then we have Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, so these are the states available currently. Right, and I would like to treat this the first column, the first row of the column as the header. Yeah, maybe just put a little bit of border. Okay, so maybe on the next column we have some price. Yeah, okay, some price. Maybe we have. I just put a random price here. Okay, so I temporarily going to use the function of rand between to generate some random number. Okay, between say 50 to 80, for instance. Yeah. Okay, by the way, this formula is very good, especially when you want to generate a random number. Yeah, like you want to create like some lucky draw. Yeah. Some sectors in industry, they're using this formula to generate random number to do some load tests. Okay. Okay, so this is the value, and let me just quickly convert this back to range. So I just copy this and then paste on the same area as value. Done. Right. And do a little bit of formatting. Okay, something like that. All right, so we have now a list of states, and I would like to look for the price based on the text or the state. Yeah, just put here state then there's the area that I'm going to put in the name of the state. Then below is the price, right? I'm going to copy, I'm going to put in this formatting, right? Temporary to look into, oops. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to look in, say, look for Malacca, for instance, yeah? Okay. I remember just now I mentioned that when we are looking for exact match, yeah, exact match, we don't have issue of sorting order. But if, for instance, we are looking for name that is by using the range lookup, okay? So I'm going to make up something, okay? Make up something later. All right, so for range lookup, we need to sort the states, yeah, in ascending order. So I'm going to quickly sort the state by just selecting the column, and then we can do the quick sorting from data tab and set ascending. So we have from J to W, all right? Okay. Now I would like to use, see what happens if we use range lookup for this kind of scenario, yeah? So I'm going to select the formula on cell E2, insert function. I use VLOOKUP. The lookup value is Malacca for this case. Then on table array, okay, table array, we select, say I select starting from column A, including the header, yeah, from A1 to B17. Okay, and then the column index, I would like to get data from the second column, so I choose column number 2. And then we have the range lookup, say I would like to change to selection option 1, yeah, which is true. Okay. When you click OK, we get Malacca, correct? Okay, but sometimes when you type in something that does not exist, say like for instance, instead of I type in, okay, say I would like to look for Kuala Lumpur, but I forget about the WP. I just type in Kuala Lumpur, yeah? We get 61. Why? Because Kuala Lumpur starts from alphabet K, yeah? Alphabet K, and then you get 61 because this is the closest match before Kuala Lumpur. Before KU, we have KE, yeah? So that now this is what you get, 61. All right, so you have to be very careful in using this option 1. All right, for some versions, yeah, for earlier version, you will encounter the issue that I mentioned. If you include the header, yeah, for later version, we do not have this issue. For earlier version, you have issue like, for instance, instead of selecting anything that's starting with K, it will show you the answer here is the word price, yeah, because it starts from S, yeah. Okay, so it will look for anything. K is actually before S, but for that particular version, you can see, you will see that because it started from S here, then the K over here on the list is no longer valid, yeah. It will look for S, yeah. Then anything that is after S, like Terengganu, it will look for Terengganu. Yeah, or maybe if there's any other state that is after ST, maybe SU, something like that, and then it will look for SU. Yeah, so that was the issue that we had in some of the version. Yeah? But if you're using later version like the Office 365, 21, 2019, I've seen it that the issue has no longer exist. Okay, but still, if you are sharing your data or your file with other users, you must be extra careful in selecting the option, yeah, in your VLOOKUP. And if you must use option number 1, okay, you it's better to select the data excluding the header, yeah. All right. Okay, that is some other some things that you have to be very careful on. Okay. So Okay, as I mentioned just now, just make sure if your data is not, the data you're looking for is not the first column. Okay, like for instance, maybe I purposely insert a column here and maybe I put here as some running number. Yeah. And maybe this is the first column of your data, right? So if I select the data instead of from column B, I selected from the first column, I don't get the answer because it looks for Kuala Lumpur in column A, yeah, not looking for column B, right? So if this happens and you would like to use VLOOKUP, make sure you select the data excluding the first column, yeah? Right. Okay, by the way, we do have some other formula functions that are able to select specifically on each column or each row. You can consider looking into the lookup function. Yeah, you can consider to look up into using the normal lookup function. For the lookup function, you can see that it can be used either vertically or horizontally. And then for Excel version 2019, 21, and Office 365, we have a new formula function called XLOOKUP, okay, which is extension to the normal lookup function that allows you to look up your data vertically or horizontally. And then there are some additional options there where it allows you to either find exact match or closest match, and you can also use to find to search from top to bottom or bottom to top. Yeah, so those are some of the functions available. And also you are able to customize the message if you couldn't find the match either from exact match or closest match. Like for instance, instead of showing the NA message, error message, you can replace immediately with some other text or value, or you can even do different calculation. All right. So if you're interested into learning this kind of formulas, I encourage you to enroll for the intermediate and advanced classes in Excel. Right. So now these are the things that I managed to show related to VLOOKUP for now. I'm returning the floor back to my fellow, to Nafis and others. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rizwan, for sharing about the VLOOKUP function in Excel. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rizwan, for sharing about the VLOOKUP function in Excel. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rizwan, for sharing about the VLOOKUP function in Excel. Okay, so if you guys have any question, you can ask in the chat box below. Mr. Rizwan will answer it.
Yeah, we have some times for you to ask a question. So you can ask a question from the chat area.
Is there any question?
Do you have any exercise that we can practice? Sorry, was there a question because it was kind of laggy just now? The voice is kind of cut
So
off.
Encik Rizwan,
Can put in the
we have
question.
one question. A moment.
Yeah, what was the question just now? It was laggy. Yeah, I could not hear
So
the question.
the question is, do you have any exercise that we can practice? They want to practice.
I can share the sample file that I have just shown in the exercise just now. You can try this on your own. Would you prefer to have the file which is a blank file without the existing formula, or would you like to have the one that I just created?
Okay, that one from two, and then there are other question that can we look up on text instead of a value?
Yes, VLOOKUP we can use for text. As you can see on the last example just now, we have looked up based on the states, and even for the first example, we look up for Roger. Yeah, so we look up into the text, and then we get the answer as value. And if you like to get, you look up for a value and you want to get text as the answer, also can. You have to make sure that the column that you want to look up, which is the value, is the first column for the range or the table array area, yeah. And then the answer, which is text, would be other than the first column.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so for the example file that the first question is asking for, I'm going to copy the file that I have just used just now. Yeah, let me just close the file first. So I'm going to drop it onto the chat area, see if we can just add into it.
See possible.
Not sure. I don't think so. It's possible here. Or let me just create a link for you to download temporarily. One moment.
So Mr. Rizwan will create a link, then you can download from there.
Yes, correct. One moment. Yeah, let me transfer this file into a shareable folder. Okay, hold on, it's synchronizing. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to create the share link.
So Encik Rizwan, they want to have the file that have formula that you just
All
create.
right. Okay, sure, no problem.
Right.
Okay, I'm pasting the link onto the chat area so everyone can just click on the link. Yeah. And by the way, the link, this is valid until this Sunday. Yeah. So there's one file, you can just download it. Make sure you don't click on the file from online version, because if you click on the online version, everybody will be editing on the master copy. Yeah. So instead, if you want to have your own copy, make sure you choose the option to download. All right.
Okay, so Mr. Rizwan has shared the link, and then I will put it at the Zoom chat. Okay, so wait a moment. Yeah.
Okay, do we have any other questions?
Okay. So I have put the link at Zoom meeting. Can you try to open it? Is it can be open or not?
Yeah, should be able to open. Yeah, you just click onto the link and there will be a new tab appear on your website, on your browser, and in there you can see the Microsoft 365 page, and in the page which is the VLOOKUP webinar. Actually, sorry, my spelling mistake. Yeah, it should be webinar, right? And inside there's only one file, which is vlookup.xlsx. You can choose the download option, yeah, and you can download onto your local drive. Yeah.
All right. So if you want the link, you guys can just contact us at Excel Academy. Then we will give the link lah for VLOOKUP for the file. Okay. So I think that's all for today. If they have no question, okay. So thank you for joining us. So we want to extend our apologies once again for the technical sound issue we experienced. So thank you for your understanding and patience throughout the session. Then so do get in touch with us if you're interested to join our others training. Then thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Rizwan.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for attending the session and having me. Okay. Have a nice day.
All right. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye.